ins and outs of it. I could never understand why 2 + 2 could be 4. Why could it not be 5? It is all man-made, kind of thing. And how does, I mean, if you throw a ball, it comes back at you, reaction, whatever, I mean, physics principles or X, Y, Z. I mean, it exists. And unfortunately, our society stresses on these sciences, sciences which decipher nature and divinity. And we have forgotten to, I mean, I'm talking of the Indian society, not necessarily everyone else, but we are not focusing on the soft skills and the soft sciences of finding yourself, spirituality, being with it, and being humane, the arts, the humanities, and the creativity, and and all those kind of things. We want our kids to become engineers, doctors, architects, or whatever, but we never would want them to become a poet or an artist or something of that sort. So I was very happy studying architecture when I came to know that architecture doesn't deal with these sciences. And I was wrong at that time when as a student, but later I realized they play a very important role in architecture. So I really enjoyed my 5 years of study, and I was good at it, honestly. And then I went abroad, did my post-graduation, learned some more skills, widened my horizon, and came back to establish my practice. The transition that happened at that time, 35 years ago, was kind of, very difficult in the sense that people hardly knew, what an architect is or what an architect does, or rather what architecture is. At that time, a carpenter was probably the interior designer, and a mason or a civil contractor was an architect or engineer or something. So the transition was a little tough and difficult. But as time passes by, you do good work, you show your work, and then people realize the value and the value addition that a professional, an architect, brings into your projects, brings into your works, and that makes the difference. So that's the transition. But I don't know what exactly you are wanting me to focus on when you talk of the transition from a student to a professional. What exactly are you looking at? If you can elaborate. So
I would like to know the challenges you faced from being a student and then shifting to becoming a professional architect. Like the first year, second years are very easy. We go with the flow. But suddenly from fifth year, when we're studying about doing a big project like a thesis project, and then we shift to the office working on a small door drawing. So that transition from a professional, practical life to suddenly go to a professional life. I would like to know that transition because I think everybody has a different story regarding that transition.
So in college, in college, while we're studying, we live in cocoons, a very protected cocoon. We are in silos, various kinds of silos. And we are protected by our teachers, by the atmosphere of the college and the young and the youth that we all are at that time. And suddenly when, you gradually rise from first, second year, then by the third year, third year, you realize the fun of being an architecture student. And then you start enjoying it. And then the projects become more complicated, complex, design assignments become more complex. And then, like you say, you do thesis or something. This is a large scale project. You spend all your energy, a lot of people work on it. And that becomes your forte, that this is the best work that I have done as a student. And unfortunately, our education system in India teaches us to be egoist, that we are the best, that we are, a lot of air pumped in, and the student feels that he's going to change the world, change the society, design projects which are large scale projects, which are, kind of path breaking, that kind of teaching happens in our architectural schools. Fortunately, unfortunately, right or wrong, we're not discussing, but that is what happens, when you reach a final year level. And then, like you say, when you come to an office, you are at the lowest level where you design grills, window grills, or doors or toilet tiles, and things like that. And that takes the air out of you, and that is the period where you are most dejected, more depressed, or disillusioned. All those kind of things happen, and that is the most toughest part of the whole thing
Exactly.
in the transition. So, wish our schools teach our students to be more pragmatic, to be more practical, to be more rooted to the reality of the profession that exists. And if that happens, students would be, a little more better prepared. I mean, I was wanting to change the world, and every project that came in the city where I was working in, I thought that I would be a designer. And I used to feel very bad as to why the hell am I not doing this job? I could have done this job better. But then you realize gradually that ऐसा होता नहीं है, it doesn't happen that way. And the the transition that happens from a student to a professional is the most critical thing in the architect's life. If you realize the pragmatism and the reality of what you are going to face, you will probably be a little more stable at that age, and probably do much better later in life. The the main issue that happens is architecture as a profession is a profession. It's not a business. So we have to understand that it takes time to establish a business, and it takes for more amount of time to establish a profession. Why will a client come to you as a young architect? You are just graduate, you're fresh, and if you're starting your practice, and before that, let me tell you, there are two options. Either you work for someone, or either you work for yourself. So I did a mistake of working for myself from day one. And that means there were a lot of struggles. I did work for about a year in the US, but when I came back, I started my own practice. I didn't want to work for anyone. But I feel that was a mistake. That is the wrong thing I did. I was never taught in school how to keep a business account, how to write accounts, what is the economics of the whole thing, how to talk to a client, how to make a bill, make an invoice, how to make an estimate of a small little project properly. I was not taught, honestly. And you learn on the way. And that learning process, along with survival and a financial survival, becomes a tough job. And then you don't know. So when you are working as an architect, even if you're working in an office, why would a client come to you? I mean, just think about it. Why will a client come to you as a consultant? There are a couple of reasons why he comes to you. Either he doesn't know what you know, and he is confident that you will deliver what you know to what he wants. He means he or she. I mean, I'm talking of client as a neutral gender person. But why will he come to you? If we answer this question, then we'll be better professionals. And that transition that happens from student to profession would be, easier and smoother. Now, if this is the issue, if this is the issue that we all face, I mean, I don't want to be, giving you stories from rags to riches, from struggle, and that I was such a poor student, I was this and that, and now I'm this and that. Nothing of that sort. I'm being very practical and pragmatic in saying that you have to struggle and you have to deliver. And when you deliver, if you go buy a pen in the market and it has a small scratch, you will not buy that pen. And you go buy a car, a small little dent or a small little speck of something else on the car, you will not buy a car. And here client is spending lakhs of rupees, through you as a consultant. Why will he expect dereliction of services? And why will he come to a young architect? Why will he not go to an experienced architect? So if we understand this reality, which is very difficult to understand at that age, it's very difficult to understand. But if you understand this reality, transition becomes easier. And one very important thing, which our schools do not teach and we don't learn as students, is to brand ourselves. Unless we do our branding, why will someone come to you? So this branding of yourself as a consultant, as a designer, is very, very critical in the life of a student, which unfortunately is not taught in schools. And most of us don't know how to market ourselves. Most of us don't know how to brand ourselves and place ourselves in a certain category. It's very easy to say now at this stage of my life and career that, struggle, that is a part of your life. Survive without food, without petrol, without having money to fill petrol in your vehicles or anything else. So it's very easy, it's very romantic to say that. But the reality is that we all have to go through that. And when we go through that, we come out better professionals. I mean, the process is difficult. It's not easy. I mean, let me tell you, it's not easy. It's a marathon race. It's not glamorous at all. It's not glamorous at all. See, if you are a 100-meter dash runner, you're the fastest man or woman on earth, you'll be full of glamour. Everyone will know you as the fastest man. But the slowest man on earth is not known. A marathon winner who runs steadily, committedly, preserving the strength and stamina, and then wins the race. So architectural profession is like a marathon race where you run gradually, slowly, and then with patience, conserving your stamina. Architectural profession is like that. And nowadays, the transition has become more difficult. The reason being the client is more aware than you. Client has access to facilities, travel, internet.
I think the competition has really increased with the rise in social media, with the rise of, architects also using branding and architects going to other fields. So I think that has made the competition a little more for everyone.
Yes, competition has increased in the sense that the client is more aware these days. Your contemporaries, your colleagues are more aware than you. I mean, always understand that they're more aware than you. They have access to information more than you. And that is a challenging task that has become. And you produce a drawing, you produce a design, you make walkthroughs or 3Ds or whatever you do. Unless you're good at it, there'll always be someone available at the touch of a button, to the client as well and to your colleagues as well. So the challenges are tougher. And that makes all the difference. But we have to understand as young architects and professionals, the difference between information that is available to you and the knowledge. It's a triad, information, knowledge, and wisdom. So a teacher teaches you how to convert the information that is available to you into knowledge. And we need to process this. And we are taught in schools how to convert this information into knowledge. But how to convert that knowledge into wisdom is something that you learn on your own or through a guru who is a real guru, who is a really wise guru, a really wise teacher will teach you actually unknowingly how to convert this knowledge that you have into wisdom. And we need to learn that. And for that, these days especially, it has become very, very critical for a young architect to work under a very established architect or a wise person who will be able to process this information and the knowledge that you have into becoming a wise man, wise architect. And that is the transition that we all should learn. And my advice is that all young architects are in a hurry of your generation, of this new generation. You want to earn millions by the click of a button or flick of a finger. And you want to be successful. You want to emulate successful architects, or iconic architects of the day, of the world. But it doesn't happen. That's not the reality. We need to be patient. The attention span is very less these days. So we need to be dedicated. I may be sounding old age or old fashioned or whatever, but that is the reality of an architectural profession. These are the challenges when you face from transiting as a student, as a young architect to a professional. So that's how it is. Patience, that's it. Nothing else.
Very well said. I mean, I'm a fresh graduate and I have seen all my, colleagues, my college mates all fibbing about why were we taught this in college? Why are we not being taught this in the office? So, both the phases are completely different. But if you go through it smoothly and enjoy the transition from fixing your thesis, then going to a nice job, and then understanding what exactly architecture is, what exactly the profession is, that is, I think, beautiful as well. I mean, if you take it in a positive note, it's very beautiful and it's very different from the meters of an architect or designer.
Puncture yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But the moment you enter your profession, puncture yourself, you will be at the lowest tab of the rung in an office, in any profession. Don't expect that you will design. Don't expect that you will do everything. Gradually it happens. Gradually it happens. And see, I mean, I'm not criticizing our schools, but it's the education system that we are brought up in, and which is far away from reality of what is happening. The the gap between profession and education is very wide, and this needs to be bridged. And
Well,
this
yeah,
is not happening,
it
and that is
is why
why the
it's
disillusion.
important. It was important. I mean, when I was in my college, I whip कि यार ये क्यों पढ़ा रहे हैं, ये क्यों कर रहे हैं. But when I went to the office, I realized यार जो पढ़ाया है वो सही था. It had to be done. I mean, it had to be done the other way around, but ये important था. So I feel that as soon as you finish that particular phase, you realize that that was important. It was important for your growth. It was important for your understanding. So, like, I, as a youngster, feel that yes, whatever we did in the 5 year course, it was important. And now, what the struggles that we make in a job is also important if you want to establish something of your own. You learn from the struggles and the mistakes that you do.
And the minimal salaries that you guys get or that we pay, adds to your distress and disillusionment.
It does. It sometimes does. But I think now, I was a youngster. I just started my architecture course. I wasn't aware of what things are. So my making this platform on Instagram was a notion to get, architecture students aware. So now I feel a lot of students are aware that what exactly the reality is. So before you choose architecture, they know that what are you going through and what happens in future. Like I remember when I was in third, I did not know that exactly what are the job standards or the standards of architects. But now when I talk to my juniors, they're quite aware of it. Maybe because of social media, or maybe the youngsters are more aware now. So it's clearly defined for them that this is okay. This is what you get now. So you need to brush your skills to get more. And these days, yeah, offices are offering more if you have n number of software skills, and all that technology is going forward. So we are being offered more now.
Yeah, I mean, this technology boom that has happened, the internet and the information availability, now the AI coming in,
Yeah.
it could be a bane, it could be a boon. So it depends on how you process it to your advantage. And we at that time, I remember as a student, we had no access to any libraries, there was no internet, there was no computers when we learned, Computers first came in, and that too an XT version, and AutoCAD had to be coded, every command had to be shift, you have to shift a line, then you have to type shift, and so and so and so, meters or centimeters or whatever. And that was in fourth year, when we were in fourth year at that time. At that time, the first computer and the first CAD software came in. And you are such an advantageous position wherein you have everything at your fingertips, and everything, and you need to use it as a boon to transform yourself and your careers and everything. And it does happen, it does happen that it's a good thing as well as a bad thing for the society and for your generation, that you guys ask too many questions. Too many questions. Which is good in a way, that you should question established norms, established beliefs, practices. You should question that. But there are some things which are not questioned, which are best left to be answered by themselves. And this transition is a question that you should not ask. That happens gradually by the normal course of action. You may have trouble, you may have financial troubles, you may have emotional troubles, but you should be strong enough to get over that. And time will tell you that that was worth it. So some questions need not be asked. Do not question if you are given to draw a toilet, after designing a riverfront project in the thesis. Do not question that. That's a standard, normal process of progression, of your growth that happens.
Yeah, I think I'll try to help that gap from a thesis project to a door drawing or a toilet drawing with my platform. I hope I am able. Yeah, that is difficult.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes, it is.
Because
And see, and the comparison. See, what has happened is, with the information that is available to you guys, a lot of comparisons happen. You compare yourself with your colleague who is in probably IT or CS or CA or another profession, you compare immediately. You're getting 10,000 and that fellow is getting 40,000. And how will you break even? You will not even be able to recover your fees that you gave as a student. Things like that. But let us understand that architectural profession is a job giver, not a job seeker. You should become and strive to become job providers. Unless you think that way, you will not be succeeding as an architect, because that is a difference between a profession and your colleague who probably is earning 40,000, 50,000 a month, and against 10,000 or 20,000 that you are earning, you will realize that you'll be able to hire tens of them 10 years down the line.
True. I mean, we should enjoy that transition, and we should now believe that, okay, we have a beautiful profession that we need to embrace. I have
Stop comparing yourself, stop being negative, and stop being, dissecting and doing postmortem of everything that is available to you, and stop believing in the information that is given to you. Stop believing in the information, that is available on the net. That's not necessarily be true. And what you see on the net or what you see on the internet, the information that is available to you, not necessarily that's correct or true. I know so many people, as a former president of the council, I have come across so many issues and so many videos which your generation has put in on Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn, which is not true, And we have investigated and found out that, this is absolutely rubbish, And people have believed in them. Lakhs of likes and comments, and things like that. So do not believe the information, process it, and then analyze it, and then believe it.
True. I mean, I believe that we should put forward our points, but put forward them once we actually realize. And now I feel if I say anything about architecture college, I know the exact rule because I've gone through the process. It's ended, and now I realize what is wrong, what was right. So, and like my thought about architecture college is completely different now. What it was actually studying. So just finish the process, go through it, understand, and then maybe speak about what is right and what is wrong. I think then you.
I'll give you a small story, a biblical story. When God created Adam from mud, he had his two angels, archangels, Gabriel and Satan. And God said, I'm making a human being, and human being is going to rule the earth and is going to be the ultimate of this universe. And you, as archangels, will have to serve the human beings for their betterment, for their civilization and everything. You need to help them out. Gabriel, being Gabriel, he was obedient to God, but Satan was not. So he spit on the Adam's model that was made, and God was very angry, and he took out that spit on the body of Adam, and that is where our navel is. That's the story. That's how the story goes. And Satan says, I will not obey this. I will not be subservient to man. So there was a lot of argument, and he was thrown. To cut the story short, he was thrown out of heaven, God's kingdom. But God said, you are my archangel, you have served me so long, so ask for whatever you would want. So he said, give me the liberty of distracting this man of yours from your path, and I will prove to you that I will have more followers than you. And that exactly is what has happened. We are followers of Satan more than the followers of God. And this internet and this information that is available to all of us today, we are followers of Satan. I'm not saying it in the negative way, but we follow everything blindly. So when you follow everything blindly without analyzing, without dissecting things, we are followers of Satan, because we do not follow our mind, we do not follow our heart, and the path of following heart and mind is the path of God, is the path of divinity. We do not do that. Every information that is available to us is right. So there are so many distractors of architecture and architecture profession within our own selves, within our own community and fraternity, that we become more of followers of Satan. So that we need to understand, where we're going on. And when that happens, the transition that we're talking of, will be very smooth. It's a very positive, very noble profession. You know, you alter the quality of life of your fellow citizens by what you design and what you build. And if you're spending 24/7 in spaces designed by architects, whether it's your house, office, college, public space, urban space, wherever you go, architectural intervention is there. So you are altering the quality of life of your fellow citizens. It's such an important task. It's an intangible task, but such a very important task, which we don't understand. So it's a very noble profession. So let us be positive about our profession and let us go through this transition, smoothly with a steady and a strong mind.
Super, very well said. I mean, I think after the end of this conversation, I'll be embracing and talking more about the architecture profession and, giving more information to the architecture student that no, you're wrong, you're on the right track. Sahi ja rahe ho. I mean, I think I can, more embrace the beauty of architecture and the profession now.
It makes you a better human being, better soul, Architectural education makes you a better human being, makes you a better soul. Knowingly, unknowingly, we all become better human beings. Because, you learn about art, creativity, sensitivity, to so many things, to your climate, context, culture, people that you're building for. And then you learn technology, science, building science, how plumbing will go, how water supply, electrical, everything will go. You learn all these things. So it's a blend of both the worlds, of the science and of the arts. It's a blend. And that makes you a better human being. That makes you a sensitive human being. Knowingly, unknowingly, you become a holistic person. And you'll realize this down the line, 30 years, Bhawna, down the line, that you are such a beautiful soul. You are such a beautiful human being. And you have to give back to the society of that beauty that lies as an architect within you. You'll realize it later, all of you young architects will realize it later. The beauty and the gem that is hidden within an architect's soul and architect's body.
I remember talking to a client. So he requested me some drawings, and then I gave him the drawings, and then you're one of the sweetest architects I've met. But I think by the course of time, by the time you grow old with indulging all these drawings, you'll be just like the old architects. It's just the young generation who's
you may be the sweetest because probably you did not charge him as much as, or you gave the drawing free.
No, but I feel that as youngsters, we're too pleasing to the clients, right? And as soon as we grow older, we understand that, giving repetitive new designs and new revisions is not actually what we can afford. So maybe that.
But I know, I tell you, and that is where the fault lies. That is exactly where the fault lies. As a young, establishing, struggling architect, we sometimes work for free. We sometimes work for a very less amount of fee.
So working for free and less amount, I think, has become a very big problem in the industry. I mean,
that is the problem.
Yeah, through my platform, I get so many clients, I get so many people questioning. As soon as you quote the price, they give me so small figures. Oh, we just 2,000 rupees. Well, it's okay, sir. You get it done then. I mean, I think the youngsters only are depleting the brand and the standardization of architects, and that's a very bad reality of it.
You can't blame the youngsters. You can't blame a struggling architect. You can't blame them. You have to blame people like us, senior architects, established architects. You need to blame them. We are charging abysmal amount of fee. 1%, 0.5%, 0.8%, which does not even cover your drawing expenses, your manpower, and then we indulge into unethical practices. We indulge into practices which we should not, immoral practices. We should not do that. So senior architects, established architects, firms are to be blamed rather than I will not blame a young struggling architect if you work for free, or if you charge 0.1% as fee, or if you take 2,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees per plan. I will not blame the youngsters. You are struggling. You have to make your ends meet. I'll blame my colleagues, my contemporaries, my seniors, who are also doing the same thing at a larger scale. So we ourselves we are termites to the profession, where we are actually killing it from within our own selves. We are killing our self-respect.
True. I think, if the entire architecture design of fraternity has this standardization, that there is no point that, we need to be pleasing the clients, or we need to be answerable to the clients. We can be very open, and I think that big rise to our profession if this gets sorted. Because This is one of the biggest problems I feel is still
I'll
there
give you
in
one example. I'll give you one example of this. Earlier, when I was maybe 5 years into the practice or something, a client came to me and for a college that some engineering college had to be designed. I was surprised that I'm getting such a big project or something, but I did not at that time. I was financially stable, so I did not quote a fee which was very low, or I didn't. I was not excited at that offer that I'm going to do this project. Uh, I said, I will not compromise. So he said, so and so architect who is 20 years senior to you is charging half the amount that you are quoting. I said, you better have it done from that person. He is more experienced than me. Probably he'll do a better job. And I didn't get the project, honestly. And I felt very bad. I was depressed. It was a large project for me. But let me tell you, 10 years down the line, that particular client, that same client is a big fan of me. And I'm doing all his projects. And that was because he said, I learned and realized that the values that you stood for at that time. He may not have got the value for money that the other architect would have worked on. Mm-hmm. That's a different issue. But the moral stand that I took at that time paid me in the long run. So as a young practice, as a young architect, I'm not saying that you should not, be idealistic and moralistically very high. I'm not saying that. But ethics is very important. Immoral practices not to be indulged in, because that erodes your self-respect in the market. I mean, there are a lot of architects who take commissions for the suppliers for specifications, or you commissions from the vendors or contractors. I'm being very open about it. You should not do that. You should not. I've never indulged into such practices ever in my life. And because that erodes your self-image, self-respect in the market. And if a consultant does not have respect in the market, or amongst the clients, then why are you a consultant? You have to have that respect. You have to command that respect, and you deserve that. And as an architect, you deserve that. So these are critical issues, moral issues, which everyone needs to balance when you start your practice. Whether you want to compromise or whether you don't want to compromise, to what extent you want to compromise. But as a consultant, I personally feel that, this is what it is. See, a Shah Rukh Khan or a Amir Khan or any successful actor will not work for half the fee or even less the fee, because they feel that they are worth that amount. So you should feel within yourself that you are worth that amount that you're charging, and you will deliver the services, and that you will be able to do justice to the client for deserving that amount of fee that he's paying you. So it's a compromise. It's a balance which takes a little time to understand and arrive at. Everyone his own cup.
Or even as an old architect, we need to value our education. We need to value our profession, and only then this market can go a little smoother for all of us. You're an old person. Okay, so I have a lot of questions. Audience would say, what are your thoughts on education and pursuing further in architecture?
Your voice was broken. Can you say it again?
Yeah, we have a lot of questions from the audience, which says that what are your thoughts on importance of continuing education and pursuing further certifications in architecture?
Of course, yes, you should. I mean, a B.Arch degree, an undergraduate degree is nothing these days. You need to specialize. Do you go to a MBBS doctor these days? The concept of a family physician is gone. If you have a ear pain, you go to an ENT specialist. If you have a chest pain, you go to a cardiologist. Same thing will happen gradually. Medical profession is 10, 20 years ahead of us. Ahead of us in the sense the way transitions happen in that profession, architecture follows that 20 years down the line. So in the coming decade, you will find that specialization will become more and more critical and important. And you need to specialize. You need to be urban designers, planners, landscapists, product designers, or XYZ, whatever, UI, UX, AI, and so many things, specialization that you would want to do. But that is a must. You may be a UI, UX designer, but you may come and design buildings. You may come and design toilets. That's fine. But specialization is very critical. So you have to do specialization. You have to broaden and widen your horizons and your thought process and your mind. You need to do specialization. And without it, it doesn't work. And it will not work.
On the same contrary, how important do you think is gaining experience in form of internship and jobs. I mean, I've seen most of us struggling and juggling with job kare, masters kare, pehle kya kare, what is the right thing. So what would you suggest for all of us?
See, as a undergrad, as a graduate, 5-year graduate of architecture, you're very immature. Very few students I have found that they know what is to be done. कि मेरे को urban design ही करना है, मेरे को planning ही करना है, मेरे को conservation करना है. Very few people. A kind of a stage where you do not understand what are the implications of the specialization that you're doing. So I believe that you should at least work for a year or two before you do specialization. You find out what your routing is. You find out what you want, what is, when you come to the market, I mean, when you come to the profession, you know what is happening, you know about policies, you know about what the government is doing, you know about, what are the economic rollouts happening. You come to know when you are in profession. You're no longer a student. So you will probably be able to chart your future and future paths better if you give a 2-year break or a 1-year break, whatever it can permit, before doing specialization. So you'll know better. You are a little more mature after working in an office, struggling in an office.
We start to understand all the that what exactly landscape will offer or what will urban planning offer to us. What is the importance of masters? And I mean, we understand the market and we understand the industry a little better.
Concretization of your thought process happens in those 1 or 2 years, when you work in an office.
But
you're able to decide better.
I'm doing my job, and now, like in the coming next year, I'm thinking to do my masters. So again, I'm in that contradict of that transition from an office, I shift to the college, doing big assignments and studying a lot, and then I think masters require more than your bachelor. I mean, more commitment than bachelor's. A good heart, and you need to put your complete heart and soul to the degree.
And that is why you should do masters.
Right. It's a little scary. So when I discuss with my colleagues, even for them, it's a little scary कि यार पहले college, फिर office, अब वापस से again नई शुरुआत college की, and yes, masters is like it's a tough decision. So
yes, it's
again,
a tough decision, but realize one thing, but understand one thing, that ये transition architect की life में constant रहने वाला है. If this transition is not there, I'm not saying कि भाई 10 साल practice कर लो फिर जाके पढ़ लो. I mean, that's just one example and simile. But the transition and this change has to be there in an architect's life. Then only you will excel in your field. Then only you will be relevant to your field and your profession. Because if you become stable, you become like a lake or a pond, it'll become stale. Your thought processes will become stale. So you have to constantly churn yourself to change with the changing times. And that happens. I mean, persons like Philip Johnson or Norman Foster, for that matter, 90 years plus and still working actively because they were able to change their thought processes with the changing times. If you see Philip Johnson's, I think he lived for more than 90 plus, and Norman Foster is also 90 plus, I think, if I'm not wrong. And Doshi ji, for example, D.V. Doshi, they're constantly changing with times. Look at their earlier works. Look at the works they did at the end of their lives. And it's a constant change. So this transition has to happen. So brace yourself for that. पहले college, फिर office 2 साल, फिर 2 साल study. It's fine. It's one cycle. Do it. And then when you come back into the profession, every 5 years, every 2 years, make yourself do something or reinvent yourself. Think about what you're doing. Think about what is happening in the world, what is going to happen in the world. Keep changing yourself. So brace yourself for this transition. And when you brace yourself for this transition, you will find that you will be relevant to the field 100 years of age also.
That's so well said. But another question that rises is, with this bridging transition of college, office, college, college offers a lot of creativity, offers a lot of practicality. So as architects, we're always juggling between practicality and creativity.
No. It is not. Architectural profession is not only creativity. Architectural profession is maybe 10% or 20% creativity, and rest is all balancing and pragmatism, practicality, and finances and everything else, and management, project management. We are living under this fallacy that architecture is creativity 100%. It's not.
I mean, when we're studying, this is fixed in our mind, or creative love, concept love, naya design love. So during our college, like the college time, all we are told, like, all that we understand is that creativity, design. So that challenge is quite difficult. कि पहले creative रहो, अब practical सोचो, जो design बना दिया वो बन नहीं पा रहा है. So I feel that's
creativity and practicality is a most important ingredient of an architect's life, of architecture. It is technology and creativity, which is, has to have a balance. It's a mix of both. So ये तो होने वाला है. College आपको creativity सिखा रहा है, profession आपको practicality सिखा रहा है. So ये तो होने वाला है. If ये नहीं सिखाएगा, अगर profession भी आपको creativity सिखाएगा, तो you will not become an architect.
True. That's true. I mean, honestly, sir, this conversation has been a open structure for me as well. And also, I've been loving the profession more.
I'm so happy to know that. But I mean, you guys are the future of our country, future architects of our country, and it is where we seniors or we established architects should invest. Actually, the investment has to be in you, in your generation. You are the future architects of my country. The entire infrastructure, the built and the quality of the built environment is in your hands, and you have more wider responsibility than what we had. More stronger responsibility than you.
I feel like, I mean, how a person balancing between the education system and the professional system together actually talks, and what are the points. Because I've always been in conversations with people either who are practicing or are in the education system. So now I feel that, okay, this is how the entire structure is designed of education and professionalism in architecture.
When you come to my office someday, on the door it is written that I would want to do everything in life. I would want to dance, sing, party, paint, write, everything. Because if I don't do anything of that sort, I think I'll be an incomplete individual. So similarly, I am into education, I'm into practice, I'm into so many other things. I write, I paint, I do so many other things. Because I feel that I become a complete human being, an individual, if I do a complete soul. So,
I mean, I know how experienced architect and then experienced teacher, feels like now we know about it.
Right.
So with this, we have a very fun rapid fire series in our live sessions. So I think we shall continue with that.
Yeah. Rapid fire.
Yeah, it's a very short rapid fire series, and it's a fun series of our, architecture practice. Famous for that. We have fun series with architects where we talk about architecture, but in a little different way. Okay. So the first question is, if you could design a building anywhere in the world, where it would be?
I would want to design everywhere in the world. The entire world I would want to design. The beaches, the sea, the mountains, the ice, the deserts. I would want to design and experiment everywhere. So do not ask me a specific choice. If given a chance, I'll design it every place that exists in the world.
Okay. And if you could have dinner with one famous architect, living or deceased, who would?
Charles Correa.
Okay. Then what is your favorite architectural landmark or structure in the world?
It has yet to be built.
Yet to be built by?
By who? By me, probably. But there's no, I like so many buildings. I like so many landmark buildings, so-called landmark buildings. But I think if I do that and start liking them, start following them, I'm dead. So I'm waiting for another landmark to come in, which I feel will propel me to do better and to learn better. So that building is yet to be built.
Okay. If you weren't an architect, what other profession do you think you have pursued?
I would be dead.
That's how you love your profession.
Yes. But honestly, I would be a classical singer. If you ask, yeah.
So I think we can schedule another live session where you give us all your other skills in architecture.
I can talk of poetry if you want. I can talk. I write a lot of poetry, so we can talk of that. But architecture is the profession. I don't see anything else.
With the audience demands, we need to put a nice session where we talk to an architect, but we don't talk about architecture. And
that
we talk about
the most important thing. We should stop talking about architecture. We are architects. We should stop talking about it. We should talk of arts, quality of life, of soft skills, of poetry, anything else.
I mean, I think architects are too much indulged into either praising or criticizing something. During my office meeting, lunch or dinner we have, all the time that we're talking about is architecture. I mean, there's nothing else that we talk about. ये नई बिल्डिंग बन गई है, इसको ऐसा बनाना है, इसको वैसा बनाना है, ये ऐसा बन गया है, client ये, मतलब it's always something related to architecture. Imagine we have family of
architects. My wife and both my daughters are architects. So imagine all the four of us what we talk of. So, but I think talking about parallel and allied arts actually enriches you as a human being, as an architect. You talk of poetry, you talk of sensitivity, you talk of giving back to society, you talk of other arts, liberal arts, humanities, you talk of all, you read
some rules that okay for this much time we're not talking about architecture to explore other. It's too much of architecture all around.
Yes, absolutely. And we are in this habit, our profession fraternity will organize conferences, seminars, discussions within our own selves. Yeah. Although the need of the moment is to take architecture to the society, make the society and our fellow citizens aware of what architecture is and what architects do. So we should actually be talking about architecture, if at all, to people other than our fraternity, not our fraternity. We know about architecture. We have augmented our knowledge about architecture. But talking about other allied fields enriches you as an architect.
Okay. Okay, so my last question, because I think we're very short of time and it would end another 5 minutes. So last question is, can you share a fun fact or a hidden talent that most people don't know about you that you got to know in the architecture school?
I think after being the president, probably everyone knows everything about me. I've been talking to so many forums. But as a student, I was a very bad orator, very, very bad orator. I used to be afraid of speaking. I couldn't even speak in juries properly. I couldn't speak English very well. But then I don't know how it happened. Then I suddenly realized that I'm a very good orator and I'm a very good, English speaker. I mean, I speak very good English. My vocabulary had increased. Probably unconsciously, subconsciously, I worked on it because I thought that was my weakness. My drawings were very good. I was a very good artist, very, very good drawings. But I couldn't speak at all in juries. And that was my drawback. And my teachers were so good that, they saw the work and they gave me, good marks and probably I topped also. But I couldn't speak at all. And my accent was very bad. My English was very, very poor. So that was probably something which was hidden inside me, which, I thought I could explore and bring it out in front of everyone. So unconsciously, subconsciously, I worked on it, I guess.
I was the opposite. I didn't work, but I speak a lot. So when I had juries, I would go speak a lot in front of the jury, have a master jury session and come back. So I skills a lot.
So now improve your drawing skills and do better. If you speak, then that's a win-win situation. If you do good work and speak good.
I'm working on the computer on the screen, but I used to hate when teachers used to say me case study करके ले आओ या ले आओ हाथ से. So I would prefer that, okay, I went to the case study, I can tell about everything, I cannot draft it on this sheet. It used to get very difficult for me to get it on the paper. Okay, I have it everything on my mind and I can speak about it. So I think
mine was totally reverse. Everything I could put on paper, what I was thinking, what I was doing. It happens. I mean, every individual is different.
Yeah. Okay, so I think so by this we can end our session, and thank you again. I mean, I'm extremely blessed to have you on my platform, and I'm so happy that you give the best out of your knowledge and your experience to all of us. And like most of the students and young architects. So, I mean, I think they would have also been loved the session.
I hope I've been able to contribute little to your generation, and I wish you all the best, and all of you the best, the generation that are going to become future architects of my country.
Thank you
And
so much.
I'm so happy to know, when I go across juries, competitions, and all, that the future of architectural practice in our country is in safe hands. There's a lot of talent that is available in your generation, and that it needs to be augmented and brought up properly in proper forums and good opportunities that you will get as architects.
Yeah.
So all the best to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.